For a lot of people, namely in modern Western culture, the concept of consuming the body of a dog for food is just out of this world. The thought of farming them and taking them to the slaughterhouse, just obscene. Even something like leaving a dog in a hot car. Many people are willing to engage in criminal damage in order to save that dog. But the question is, would you support a humane dog meat industry? And if not, then why eat other animals? Imagine walking into the supermarket and instead of seeing all the happy cows, all these happy animals on top of the corpses of them, you see these labels on the meat and they say humanely, organic, pasture-raised dog. Ethically sourced, free-range dogs who lived happy, healthy lives before their life was cut short with one bad day. Would you feel comfortable ordering it from a menu? Probably not. So let's break all of this down. I think many of us just understand that putting humane and slaughter together produces an oxymoron. It can't be the case that if you're slaughtering an individual, you're doing it in a compassionate and benevolent way. Fundamentally, I think we are aware of that. And I think we say it to feel more comfortable in ourselves with the concept of an animal being stabbed because we wanted them in a meal. People will go as far as paying extra for these labels, not knowing that these labels are just for their own comfort. They're not for the well-being or the interest of the animal, because the animal still ended up at a slaughterhouse. They were still commodified and used. What can be humane about breeding an animal into existence and premeditating their death? Also, we can use their bodies for whatever means we would like. It wouldn't be good for a dog, and it certainly isn't good for a cow, a pig, a chicken. And it's just going to be the case that we're going to end up with more of these factory farmed animals than we are with animals in these beautiful wide open spaces, because we simply don't have the space to do that. If people want to eat animals and their secretions every single day, if they want to buy their skin, then where are all these animals going to go? They need to be raised and then, yeah, slaughtered. But again, if a dog had all this wide open space and you had a neighbor and they said, oh yeah, I take them for walks every day, they have freedom, they're off lead even, they're really good, like I don't have to worry about them. And then one day I'm gonna take them round the back of my garden and I'm gonna shoot them in the head so I can have them as a steak dinner. I think you'd probably want to call the police on them. The idea of them having this happy life and then being humanely slaughtered quickly around the back of a garden wouldn't suddenly make it okay in any way, shape or form. You'd still understand that that would be a wrong thing to do. So again, of course, it's wrong to do it to the pig, the cow, the chicken. Culture has a large part on what we deem to be morally acceptable. If you get someone to explain why they think eating a dog is wrong, the real only difference is because they weren't grown up, raised, consuming their bodies. So they haven't needed to do any mental gymnastics in order to justify it like they do with the other animals. There are places in the world where consuming dogs is considered perfectly normal, and it's a massive culture shock to people when they see animals' bodies who happen to be dogs strung up just like that of a cow. There's some places where eating the bodies of cows is taboo, but we haven't quite figured out that morality isn't what is culturally acceptable. Otherwise, anything that has been cultural anywhere ever is morally acceptable. When you don't have that cultural norm shrouding whether or not something is acceptable, it gives us a chance to look within. Because we haven't consumed the bodies of dogs, we don't have the norm clouding our judgment. We have a chance to see how we truly feel about a given action. If a dog's body were presented to us on the dinner table, it would likely disgust people who aren't vegan. But there's no morally significant difference between that dog and a pig that would make it justified for that body to be there in the first place. So maybe if it were a cultural norm for you, if you're not someone who truly looks within about what you think is acceptable and check for logical consistency, maybe you would be someone who would chow down on the body of a dog without a second thought. So what's the alternative? If the idea of consuming the body of a dog grosses you out in an ethically repulsive way, so you think that it's wrong, what is the morally significant difference between a dog and these other animals that would make it justified to kill them so you can eat their bodies? And while we're at it, Western culture doesn't actually do very right by dogs. We still do things like ear cropping, tail docking, where for aesthetic reasons, we mutilate these dogs so that we can be pleased by their appearance. So we put them through stress, pain, and these procedures, all for our benefit. There's no benefit to them whatsoever. Not only that, the entire breeding industry is a massive problem. When people don't adopt these animals and instead decide to go to a breeder, dogs end up getting killed because they've got no home to go to. But people would rather go for a dog who aesthetically pleases them because they like the breed, never mind liking dogs and providing a good home for them. No, it's, oh, I want this certain breed because I like this breed. I like what they look like. They would make me look cool. I don't want to go through the trouble of them having behavioral issues potentially, so I want to have them as a puppy. Oh, but I can't actually deal with them as a puppy and their personality has grown in such a way that I don't like, so now they're going to the dog shelter. There's a massive problem with seeing them as commodities who would fit into our life rather than thinking about how we might fit into theirs. We don't think from the perspective of a dog. So before we even think we're so much better, we know how to look after dogs, we really don't, even as people who declare ourselves dog lovers. But I think we know if we wrapped up their bodies in cling film, chopped them up so you couldn't see their faces, put all these labels next to it about how great their life was before it was cut short, we would not be comfortable with consuming their bodies, and that logically extends to these other animals. If you are not vegan, maybe take this as an opportunity to see how uncomfortable you would actually be with the concept of eating other animals if it wasn't something that you'd been socialized into doing. But thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to go vegan for the animals because they are who it means everything to.